15 years. These are important relationships. It's not employee-employer. It's if you quit and you tell me you're leaving, I'm going to go in my car and cry. I've been working with you for 15 years. My relationship that I have with many people that I work with is intimate. I've seen their children born. I've seen them go through breakups. I've seen their parents die. I've seen, like, we go to war every night at 6 o'clock. 150 people are coming to eat in the next 3 hours in 4 restaurants.
It's a job that's so
different.
different.
A very high stress environment for 5 minutes. For 2 hours, it's we got to walk properly. We're knowledgeable of each other's space. There's a ballet, when you're washing the glasses and the food's coming out behind you. You have a sixth sense to know to move, not to get the plate to burn your elbow. And there's this ballet we dance every night with these people.
And for us to think that, and most people still think that we're behind the stove cooking. I've got more phone calls to get help finding a doctor, therapist, whatever, nutritionist for the staff. Then I got calls about recipes or food. Or, our job is, I'm an expert in drain pipes.
Artisanal plumbing, artisanal electricity, artisanal refrigeration.
I know about concrete pouring now.
Why? Because you've done it yourself?
Yeah, we have these restaurants. They're very decrepit old buildings, and you can't. We're running restaurants with employees and a constant burden of payroll, and we can't just call everybody all the time. So by default, any good cooking school today, what Fred is saying, and Fred is the example of what a great chef should be a very good cook, a very good person with people skills, but should also have a minor in electricity, plumbing, and refrigeration technology.
First aid, even now, we both don't drink. We both, I wouldn't say a health kick, but just want to be there, mind and body. We want to be
present.
And that's
we built something cool. I want to appreciate it, not be clouded.
That's overlooked. That's people don't think about that when they get into this job. They think it's this warrior thing. We're savage. We're gonna drink. We're gonna party. We're gonna do this. No, if you want to do that till you're 60 and then get a little cottage and write, paint, watercolor, buy a sailboat, you have to think about it. It's you can't live that life of drinking and.
Why do you think that life is synonymous with chefs?
We've been promoted and taught ultimately that you will get paid, you will make money, you will persevere if you understand how to promote excessive eating and excessive drinking. You will be recompensed if you build a place where people come and eat too much and drink too much and then spend too much, then you will be able to have a life, a car, a house, and raise children. Okay, so it's all good. First, you have to learn how to cook. Then you have to learn how to run a restaurant. Then you have to learn what a restaurant looks like and how to run and how to
host,
what the playlist should be like, how to fix a plumbing disaster, how to fix an electricity disaster, how to fix a staff situation disaster, how to run a clean house, or people are working together with all their different idiosyncrasies. But for my whole apprenticeship, alcohol was a reward. You did a good job tonight. Drink. And
then it went from reward to, oh shit, there was a bloodbath in the restaurant. We had to pick up this guy at the hospital. Okay, it's not a reward. Let's forget about it. Let's drink. And it was always there. It's great service. Let's have a drink. Shitty
and you're in the
service,
wine. You're in the food industry, but you're also in the wine industry because 50% of what you're doing is selling food to people, and the other 50% of what you're doing is selling alcohol to people. So by default, you're part of the people that sell a liquid drug, and
dealers.
You're in that world every day. And you go to wine tastings. You talk with people that sell alcohol at bartenders. You talk to people that sell wine. You partake in eating in your colleagues' restaurants and drinking wine. Next thing you know, you have a little bit of celebrity. You've been open for 15 years. And you look back and you go, there's 7 days in a week, and I drank 6 of them. I don't feel good on Sunday. I'm just kind of recovering. And then what happens is 1 week turns into 2 to 4, and then you kind of look back and you realize in 2017 that you may have drank 48 weeks out of 52, you know, and then it goes quick. Then it's 10 years, and you're a 10-year restaurant, and you've been drinking 5 days out of the week for 10 years. And then all of a sudden you kind of have a problem. You realize that, like, my day-to-day is based on food and wine, right? Now, I don't want it's not making me happy. I've had all the wines, I've had all the foods. Am I better for it? Not really. What am I better for? Restriction, eating less, eating clean, drinking only on very special occasions.
Do you still drink on special occasions?
I don't. I'm completely sober, no.
Did you make that decision based on the idea that you weren't able to control it, or just that the best decision would be to just completely eliminate it?
Textbook case of a person who couldn't drink.
Yeah, I tried several times to stop. I Googled it. I read about it. It didn't work. I was interventioned by Fred and my managers of the restaurants in January 12th, around there, 16th, I think we figured. And
of this year?
Yeah. I'm 8 months sober or something.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And
you look really good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You do. You look healthy.
I'm happy, man.
It changes, like, the skin, everything.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing when that happens?
Conversation, like,
I was angry for a long
remembering.
time. You know, I had it's not only alcoholism, I think all alcoholics are codependent somewhat, like it's just, it had been part of my whole apprenticeship, not being sober for so many years. It was all under control and funny for a very, very long time. It was always a big part of my life, drinking wine, eating food. Till it wasn't, Then one day, I was, 45, my relationship with alcohol changed. I became dark. I became unhappy. I had success. I had beautiful children. I was not happy. I tried many different things. Nothing worked. I was interventioned by people that I work with that are dear to me, that I love very much, I guess that love me. They're tired of watching me, make bad decisions. And I just went to a great rehab called Chatsworth that educated me. I was sitting in a classroom with a pad and paper for 6 hours a day, learning about the disease called alcoholism, learning about a disease that 30% of the population has, and how and why I was an addict, First, I was an addict with food. Then, at a young age, after a traumatic event, then I was an addict with beer. Then I was an addict with marijuana, all drugs. And then I was an addict with wine. Follow up a couple more traumatic events in my, horrendous apprenticeship, and the stress of leadership in these restaurants. And, one thing led to another. My relationship with alcohol became not positive. With help, I understood. With education, I understood. And now everything's great.
It's funny, too, because I saw it as an example. I don't like to tell him, but maybe it's a little bit of mentoring,
I was the canary in the coal mine for Fred.
And I decided, I was like, fuck, after Tony passed, I was like, I remember I was working on a new project doing tilings, and I was like, oh, I heard the news in the morning. I went to tile all day, and then I couldn't wait to get home and have like 2 bottles of wine. And I was like, why? And we were the same about that. It didn't matter like what we loved at a point. Look, for example, we loved MMA, right? We loved going to the fights. We were like so fortunate. We'd go and we met the Fertitta brothers. We discussed, like we sat with them at dinner table. We met you. We met all those guys. David loves winemaking, met all the winemakers. We met the best people in the field that we loved.
Charmed life, not happy.
Not happy. Like ungrateful fucking little pricks.
Well, I think part of the problem is that alcohol is a depressant.
Correct. It's a huge problem.
Just you get down. It brings you down. It brings you down. It brings your energy level down. It brings
it's also
your
a
vitality
solvent.
down.
Alcohol is a solvent, and it destroys your soft brain tissue.
Yeah.
I was taught that in rehab. So would you drink acetone? I go, no.
Well, if it was made by a lovely French vineyard
with
had
barnyard
a great aroma. But do you miss anything about the flavor of wine with a meal or anything? Have you ever tried there non-alcoholic wines? I don't even know.
Non-alcoholic beers?
I go to wine tastings. I was just at Raw Wine in Los Angeles. I went to taste all the natural wines, beautiful natural wine festival.
And you can taste them still?
I taste them. I don't swallow. I rinse my mouth out. I'm very much involved in natural wine and viticulture reading and all that stuff.
That's got to be so weird to have a mouthful of delicious wine, just spit it into a bucket.
No, it's the same.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, because that's why did I drink wine? Olfactory, the nose, the flavor, understanding the winemaker, his philosophy, the geography of where the wine comes from, his work with using organic and biodynamic viticulture, not using sulfur. Just making this amazing organic beverage with very little intervention, natural wine.
Without side effects.
I don't have to swallow it because the drug is the same drug that's in all the other ones.
Right.
They can't change.
The flavor's what's different.
Yes. And what I like is more of the story, the guy, the vineyard, the varietals,
Would you eat at a fine restaurant and have a delicious steak and
a
wine accompaniment and then just spit it into a bucket?
I've done it.
Goes to the bathroom.
I was really worried.
He shuts his mouth and he goes to the bathroom.
I was worried
with a mouthful of wine.
Ryan Grave, our friend from Elena that worked with us for years, Ryan goes to a restaurant and asks for a bucket. And he'll sit with other people in the wine business, and they all drink wine, and he tastes the wine, and he has discussions about wine, and he tastes it and spits it.
And because he's an alcoholic.
Yeah, he's a recovered alcoholic, 3 years, but he's a wine buyer, and he's very much involved. He was my mentor when I got out of rehab, because in rehab they were telling me, you may never be able to go back to the restaurant.
What?
Yeah. And
I was like, high risk of reoffending.
Yeah. And I was like, I can't. I don't know anything else. I have no education. I've been in kitchen since I'm 17.
It's way too late for med school, and we don't do well on Adderall.
I really don't want to clean iceberg lettuce at the fruits and vegetables store and try to make a go of that.
And it's funny too. Even de-alkalized beer, non-alcoholic beer, it's better than alcoholic beer.
What are you talking about?
Heineken 0.0, man.
Crisp.
Really?
Crisp.
Outstanding.
Really?
Heineken 0.0? Outstanding.
It's really good?
It's fine.
Well, I've only had O'Doul's.
No, it's not good.
Okay, so Heineken does it correctly.
The order of non-alcoholic beer, in my head, is Heineken 0.0.
Okay, hold on.
Carlsberg 0. Grolsch 0.
Grolsch.
Beck's 0. And then everything else is not good after that.
But let me add to that, because I'm also celiac, right? And there's a Glutenberg they make in Montreal that's no gluten and no alcohol. And now you can insert any joke you want.
People are signing off the podcast right now.
This podcast, I thought these guys were going to talk about heroin, getting fucked up and eating meat.
No, we eat meat.
Yes, I'm sure.
We love.
I'm sure. That's fascinating though that you actually still taste it and still. It's almost like if you're a heroin addict, just scratching the skin with the needle. We don't penetrate.
Yeah, they don't recommend that.
No.
My therapist and the people at rehab do not recommend that I taste wine and spit it.
I'm sure they don't.
But I have friends. Again, I know a lot of sommeliers, and even I know winemakers. Some of the most famous winemakers in the world I've met in Burgundy at an AA meeting that are completely sober.
Wow.
Because they wanted to break this cycle of my great-grandfather was an alcoholic, abusive person. My grandfather was an alcoholic, abusive person. My father was an alcoholic, abusive person. And I didn't want to take over this 1,000-year-old winery. Wow. The legacy of my family. I didn't want to work here.
And I'm sure, with all the epigenetic stuff, if you don't drink when your kids are young, there might be a thing where you can stop the passing of the gene,